Hello, guys. Woohoo here, back with another episode of the community podcast State of Trove. This time around, we got a guy right over. I mess it up over all the time. This way. Okay, never mind. And of course, if you don't know who this guy is, he is a Trove developer, and in a few seconds he'll introduce himself and also. He will tell all about what he does and a whole bunch of other things. And I gotta say, before you get in too far in the video or on stream here, it's all pre-approved questions, so we won't have too many of spoilers, but we will, of course, discuss what is already revealed and what we know so far, and have a great discussion about that. So just keep in mind that you won't see any great reveals right here, but we did get some new information yesterday, mostly about the new patch that's coming here in August. So yes, also of course we also has a few issues with the Skype and stuff like that. It doesn't really work right now, so if he's moving like a little behind, like his mouse doesn't work, it's because we're actually capturing his stream on my stream, and it's it was a little bit of a tussle, but we got it to work. Who has the jet engine in the background? No. So the first question I got before you introduce yourself, I gotta know, how do you pronounce your name? Because I've been saying it and people have telling me that I'm saying it wrong. So how do you pronounce your name?
Well, how do you pronounce my name?
Anthros.
It's Atronos.
Anthros. Okay. Is it cool
Atronos,
if I just call you Vander because that's your real name?
Vanther isn't my real name either.
Oh.
Vanther is a different online pseudonym that I use.
Oh, okay.
My real name is.
I use Vander instead then.
You can call me Kumar. You can call me Atronos. Vanther is kind of like no one who plays Trove will know who I am.
Oh.
So, but you can call me Kumar if you want.
Kumar is. I would prefer to call you Kumar for sure.
Okay.
In any of the AKA whatever, all those gamer tags.
So Kumar is actually my real IRL name.
Okay.
Chrono is mocking you.
Yeah, I know. She usually does that. That's kind of her job. She's sometimes it's just to see me squeal and stuff like that. But all right.
Anyway.
So first of all, we got the name past the name. So who are you? And in that sense, I guess we got a little bit that, but I guess more like, what do you do at joinworld? I think we can talk about that.
So as we've been discussing, my name is Kumar. I'm known as Atronos in the Trove community. I'm a game designer and artist on Trove. I write a lot of the lore. I do a lot of the voxel art. I implement stuff. I design ideas and implement them. All that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. So you're touching on everything.
Not everything, but I do have my hands in a lot of pies.
Okay. Especially the lore, since I didn't know you had lore, but sorry, I had to close the window so not so much noise. But you said lore things, and I actually want to talk about it. We haven't talked about it, but I want to talk a little bit about the lore, because I feel like, and not to get too much into this, but I feel like you guys are doing way better on like capturing lore and kind of telling a story now more with Trove than you used to do, at least.
Yeah, so we've been adding a whole bunch of new tech, like the placeable NPCs that talk at you and that you can like interact with, and so those are relatively new. We added them in the tutorial. We haven't added them like throughout the game proper, but the Geode Hub gave us the opportunity to place a bunch of them and have a lot of environmental storytelling just by having the NPCs like talk to you in a certain way or discuss certain things. The Geode Hub is also a lot more populated than the Trove Hub, and that also ties in. Is like the fact that they have a Crystology Master and a Sunseeker Master and all these people, like, just gives you a lot of context for what is going on in the world of Geode, which the world of Trove doesn't quite have.
Yeah. Especially what I really liked is the whole build-up with the building the ship in the hub, building it higher and higher. It kind of took me back to what World of Warcraft used to do, starting kind of actually hyping people up by just building things up that kind of evolved suddenly and stuff like that. That really was amazing to me, and I think that it's the right way to go in the sense of lore and showing about Trove.
Yeah, it was a really good idea, and the fact that the tower was so big and the solidarity is so big. It's something that you can definitely, like, you log into the game and you turn left and you see this massive thing. You're like, oh, what was that? And as you're saying, like, the fact that it was built up over time gave you a sense of progression, gave you a sense of something's going to happen, what's going to happen, when's it going to happen, kind of thing, right? So it created a lot of good expectations, a lot of hype. So that was a really good way to tell a story while in a way that didn't require us to throw a whole bunch of text at players.
Yeah. Like kind of just do the visual thing, and because
exactly.
Yeah, because it's kind of funny, right? Because I've said this before also, that lore is not something, I'm not a big lore guy and stuff like that, and many people aren't, but actually there's research done where if there's not lore in a game, actually people lose interest in the game, even though they don't read the lore, but it needs to be there even so.
Yeah, so the thing is, like, lore, in any game, right? Lore is a way to immerse you in the game, in the world. It's a way of making you feel invested in it, right?
Yeah.
If, like, for example, if you're playing Minecraft, you go into there and it's literally like, what's your story? Are you a farmer? Are you a survivor? Are you an explorer? Are you a miner? What do you want to do? It's very open-ended. It gives you a ton of tools and systems for you to do, but it's very much a game that's addressed at people who have their own, like, I want to do this, right? Whereas any other game with, like, lore, story, world settings, like, okay, I am in a world and these things are happening around me, and this is like this. These are the gameplay options that are available to me. But a lot of people, like, the lore helps anchor them in the world. It gives them context for their actions and so forth, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of feel like Trove was very much before Geo update or whatever you can. It was very set your own goals or set your own. Some people also actually make their own stories around Trove. Some actually built like club worlds around just building their own lore and stuff like that. And I kind of like actually you guys actually taking on this journey and actually showing us kind of how do you actually want the storyline to progress, instead of people just setting their own goals and saying, I'm just, it's people around and stuff like that.
Yeah, correct. So Trove has already always had lore, right? It's there. It's in the descriptions of equipment. It's in the descriptions of mounts. Like, even the names of the mounts, like intertwined to give you a background radiation of story, of setting that you can pursue if that's something that you're interested in. But we've never wanted to be like super lore centered, where it's like you have to sit through a cutscene and listen to some guy telling you the story of how, like, the sun goddess defeated the shadows or how the moon goddess was. If you're interested in that story is there, but it's presented in such a way that if you're interested in it, you can seek it, you can find it. If you're not, if all you're interested in is upgrading your gear and leveling your classes, we're not going to hit you over the head with it.
No, it's not like it has to be. That's the road you have to take, and if you don't, just get out of the game, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, we took a turn for lore, and it's amazing. Sometimes those talks just goes in one direction. But let's continue talking about you, basically. So we talked about, the next question would be like, how did you get to work for Joinworld and on Trove?
So I started out doing QA at SCA at PlayStation. I did a couple of rounds of QA there. Then from there I went to work at a different company called Gazillion. From there I started working in QA at Trion, and I did QA at Trion for about 4 or 5 years, and that's when Trove started spinning up. And when Trove started out, we didn't have many artists working on it, and we didn't have like all of the player submission stuff. So we needed to make equipment styles internally. And so what I would do is I would do my 8 hours of work in QA, and then I would make a whole bunch of styles, and then I was prolific enough and not terrible at it enough that that Avram Andrew would be like, oh hey, like, do you want to try making an ally, or do you want to try making a mount, or do you want to try making costume? And I'm like, yes, 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 and I was just like, I was very, very prolific, to the point where like at some point I literally had made 90% of the stuff in the game. And then we started accepting styles from the community with the Trove Creations program, and I would implement those. And these were the early days of like closed beta and all this stuff. And eventually, essentially, I made myself a really great asset to the team, to the point where they were like, we'd actually like you to spend more time working on Trove and less time doing QA. So, like, why don't you come work on Trove? And I'm like, yes, I would love that. Why not? So that was my Trove story.
That's how you got in, on Trove, yeah. So just to people that didn't know, Avram, as he talked about before, that was the producer on leading producer, right? He was leading producer.
It was executive producer, yeah.
Executive producer, yeah, on Trove before. And what?
It sounded like you said executive reproducer, and it was like, what?
Reproducer. Okay. Yeah.
Anyway.
The accent is heavy. I know it's. Uncanny.
Anyway.
Anyway, so he went to another game, and we now have Rick. Right? He's still the producer, or?
Yeah, Rick is still working with us.
Yeah.
And we also have James.
Like everything just kind of not to say anything about Avram, because I feel like he was great, but I feel like Rick has more. He's more put things in systems. It's more. What would you call it? In a direction, or put things in direction.
There's a word. What is the word? Yes, so I understand what you're saying. So early Trove was very much a, hey, like this, it would be cool if we added this system, it would be cool if we added that system, and so forth. And we weren't on consoles at the time, so we could do patches every other week or every week or whatever, and we'd be like, oh hey, we did a thing. It's like, oh no, people don't like it as much. It's like, okay, change it a little bit, or like swap it back or whatever, right? Whereas now with Trove being on consoles as well as PC, so we have to have a more regimented cadence, so there's a lot more time for pre-planning. Because it's like, okay, like we're looking at releasing. So when we finish work on a patch, then it has to go through console cert and console QA and all of these other things. So we have to literally plan. Okay, we finished work on it at this point, but it will actually be live 2 months after that, or a month and a half, or however long it takes to go through certain stuff. So we have to be a lot more. Have put in a lot more planning, and which means that we are not as agile as we used to be, but it also allows us a lot of time to be like, okay, like this next patch has to include this, this, and this. Well, we can tie it all together in this way. Okay, the patch after that, we should do that, that, and that. It's like, well, we can actually plan to do a thing for that patch and actually start like hinting at it in this previous patch. So it gives us a lot more of it gives us the ability to plan ahead a lot more.
And do the whole lore thing, as we talked about before, kind of like build things up and people seeing the world change in front of them and say like, why is there somebody building something here that wasn't here yesterday, and
yes,
what does it all mean? And like kind of instead of just seeing, like you said before, here is something we did gems, here's some gems,
and people who are observant have noticed that we tend to foreshadow things a lot more because of the fact that we have these long-term plans that we're executing one step at a time.
Exactly, and I think it's very, very how it is done now is way better than it used to be. I used to play also. I played for 2 years now, and that was I don't know. It just seems more systematic, which I kind of like, and kind of feel like I can provide also my community and other people when they come in, and I can provide them with some information that I have, instead of just saying, well, in next week there's going to be some kind of patch. I don't know what it is. It's going to be something, see when you log in, basically. That's not really.
Yes. So the fact that we have the ability to plan ahead and do all these things means that the player experience with the things we do deliver is a lot more clear. Because it gives us time. It's like, okay, we know that we've finished work on the thing. It's going through the sort in the next couple months. We can start talking about the systems. We can start talking about, hey, the new biome or the new class or the new whatever or the new profession. It gives us a nice window of time to finish the work and then start talking about it gradually and introducing it to players and giving you an idea of what's coming.
Yeah, exactly. And build up the hype or maybe getting people on board with the patch, and So I know a little bit of a thing that you have the Extra Life. Are you the main person on Extra Life?
Yes.
Okay.
So, main person. So anything we do on Trove is a collaborative effort. There are some things that are easier to do by myself, like allies or styles or whatever. But anything that is mounts, costumes, all this stuff requires work from Junebug, requires work from Dope Sheet and Twizzler if there's like new animations or new rigs. It requires work from Postcard to create the packs. So it's always a collaborative effort. I may be the face of like the Trove Extra Life creation stream and the one who like is on camera making stuff, but there's a whole boatload of work that goes on behind the scenes to go from, hey, I made something in Cubicle, to here's a pack that you can buy that gives you a whole bunch of cool stuff, and money goes to charity when you buy the pack as well, and and it's a whole production, right? So
exactly. I know it wasn't a really good transition for what we talked about before, but it was kind of in the line of player experiences, and player experiences was kind of the segment away towards the Extra Life, because I wanted you to like kind of promote that a little bit, the Extra Life, because I actually think it's absolutely amazing that we through gaming and can help some people that is in need. So if you could explain what Extra Life actually is.
So Extra Life is a non-profit organization that allows. So they have this whole system where throughout the year they raise money for a variety of different hospitals, usually children's hospitals all throughout the United States, and some in Canada, I think, now recently. But anyway, so basically what they do is you sign up on their website, and then you can say, hey, I pledge to play video games for 24 hours on this date, and come watch me. Like, people invent all kinds of shenanigans. It's like, hey, if I raise so much money, I'll play Dark Souls blindfolded, or I'll speed run Super Mario 64 or whatever, right? And the idea is to provide entertainment and also raise money for this charity, who then distributes that money to like all kinds of children's hospitals, making things better for a lot of people. Tryon as a company does a huge production when the time comes around, which is like October or November, and where we live stream from arcades, we live stream from Rift, we do giveaways. If you donate during our streams, we give you a whole bunch of stuff. And then like Trove's main push for it is the Trove Creations Extra Live stream, which is me creating stuff on stream for 24 hours, and people can donate to have me make styles, allies, mounts, costumes, dragons, and so forth and so forth. And then all of the stuff that gets made during this live stream gets then put into the game with the name of the person who donated for it on the credits, like designed by Chronozilla, for example. And then it all gets put into the pack. Any money we raise during the stream goes to Extra Life, but then when we sell the pack as well, a considerable percentage of the sales of the pack also goes to Extra Life. So it gives us the ability to raise money for Extra Life during the live stream, but then like on the flip side of the year, like 6 months later, it gives us the ability to raise money for Extra Life again, right? So
Yeah. And that Extra Life pack is coming out soon, right?
yes, so what happened this year? We got so many donations and so many requests that we had to split the pack in two um, to make it to give it a price comparable to the price of packs last year.
Wow.
So there's actually going to be two packs. One is coming out with the improvements patch, which is coming out like in a month or so. Like it's on PTS now already.
Yeah, sometime August. Yeah.
Yeah, and that will have two dragons. No, two dragons, one dragon.
There's at least one of the dragons, right? The bee
Yeah.
dragon is one of them.
Yes, there's the bee dragon. There's a couple of costumes. The dubstepping desperado and the time stranded paleontologist. There's some mounts. There's a few allies. There's some helmet styles, and there's some equipment styles as well.
Oh, okay. So the first pack is coming in the improvement patch, and then later on that other pack is coming.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I have watched your stream if somebody was wondering, and I've seen actually pre-animation the bee dragon coming actually because you spoiled it a little bit, and it looks very, very awesome. And we, of course, like you said, we are going to see it in the new improvement patch, which we are going to talk about later on.
So pre animations, it looks really good, but Dopeshi did an amazing. Like I actually saw it animated a couple of days ago, and it's so good. It's so good. It's amazing.
Yeah. And if anybody's wondering in the chat or wondering like on the YouTube whatever, they have already said how you get it. It's when killing bee and bee-like creatures, and that's where it drops from, just like spiders or something like that. So pretty
exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, like the fragments will drop from any number of bee or bee-like creatures. So bees, wasps, magnetos, candy cornets, anything that looks like a bee and moves like a bee has a chance of dropping a bee fragment.
So basically, if you think it's a bee, it's a bee, or
yeah, to be or not to be.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So I guess next question would be: do you play Trove yourself?
So the answer to that is, and anyone who watches my live streams knows that I do play Trove myself.
And can you give us a little bit of hint about like mastery, power ranks, and stuff like that? I guess are you actually as a developer? Do you get access to everything? You know, you are an employee of the company, or do you have to farm everything yourself?
So no, we have to farm everything ourselves. We're not supposed to use cheats on our dev accounts, so we have dev accounts, which are like the green named ones, and those have full dev powers and all this stuff. But then any one of us who plays the game legitimately has a play account, and we don't have dev powers on those, so we have to farm everything and grind everything.
So you're not you don't just when somebody like when for example the bee dragon comes out, you just don't get a code from like anywhere and just plug it into your player account.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah. So when like new stuff comes out, like a new dragon or something like that, you just don't get handed a code from the company.
No, we don't.
No. So everything you play basically on your player account, you have to is everything besides the company.
Yes, so we do get some perks, like some of the packs and stuff we get granted automatically.
Yeah.
So we don't have to spend money on them because we already spend a very large amount of our time working on the game, so we had to spend our money working on the game and give it back.
It's your work.
But yeah, a lot of us have actually spent money on the game, right? I mean, I've spent money on the game, so.
So basically, the money that you got from the company, you gave back to the company.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
Yeah, but it's what I always say, right? If spending the money is worth your time, then thank you for spending the money. If you don't feel that spending the money is worth your time, don't spend the money. And like sometimes I'll be like, oh, like I could use some more dragon coins, but I really don't want to do challenges for the next 6 months. It's like I'll buy some great dragon caches or something, right?
yeah, many people do feel like Trove is pay to win. I always call it pay to fast, in the sense of you still have to grind it out, but you can probably do it a little bit faster. Especially like if you have Patreon or something like that. If you're looking for experience, that's going to take you a little bit less time. So it's not pay to win. I say it's pay to a little bit faster than if you have that money to spend.
I mean, Trove, compared to a lot of other games, Trove is very fair, right? You can get everything, or just about everything. You can be a top end player without giving us a cent, right? And that's always been our philosophy, right? We don't want to be oh hey, like if you give us money, you will instantly be more powerful. And at the end of the day, we're not like a heavily PvP game. We have Bomber Royale recently, but even that's like flat stats. Nothing you give us money for is going to affect your stats in Bomber Royale. So calling it a pay-to-win game is like, who are you winning against? The game?
I don't
Right.
know. I don't know
I
where people
mean,
get it from.
if we had World PvP or something, and it was like, oh hey, like all your gem stats apply in World PvP, and you can go around and wreck people and steal their stuff, then yes, it would be pay to win.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
we're not that type of game.
No,
So
I never felt like it has been, and I've always shut that down whenever people have like talked about it, and because I don't feel like it's paid to anything win at all. Because yeah, you're not gonna be number one on the leaderboards if you don't pay for some stuff. But what does it give you? The only thing it gives you is basically a yellow name. Well, now it's gonna give you an orange, but you can also pick yellow in the new update. But my point being that you just get a color of your name. It's not like you're getting any kind of advantage in the game by paying this pack. You're just going to be faster or
I
spend less
mean,
time on the game.
there's definitely the like things like the leaderboards and stuff where you get some amount of like chaos vaults, dark chaos vaults, all that stuff, right?
Oh yeah, I'm
Um,
talking about the mastery one. I'm talking about that one.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
right. I mean, the mastery leaderboard doesn't um, it doesn't really change that. And sure, you can pay to like get slightly more lucky with gems and stuff, which allows you to place on the class leaderboards. But at the end of the day, I don't think pay to win is the correct description for Trove. Pay to faster or pay for convenience is better. Is like
yeah,
a much more accurate.
yeah, exactly. So, so you said you play Trove yourself. So what is your mastery rank? What is your mastery? Basically, your number.
I think my Trove mastery is like 560 or something like that. I can actually check 1 second because I actually have my client. Let's see.
Chronosilla is saying something. The only stream end of some pay to win was cash exclusive mastery in a few packs that gives mastery you could agree about. Check it down. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, definitely Chrono for sure. I would say that's a very accurate way of putting it as well.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I said. You can get most of the mastery in the game for free. There are like things like the extra life packs. There's like a few pieces there that you have to buy. 1 second.
Yeah,
But this is something that I've said before. If you care so much about like being at the top end of mastery, if to the point where you feel like the game is pay to win if you don't pay, then if you care so much, like why don't you give us some money and do the thing, right?
yeah.
Because
I'm on the understanding that if you play this game every single day, at least for like an hour or two, I think like with any free to play game, you should put in a little, like pay a little bit for it. I know it's hard to not do, and I know there's also some people out there that have like a principle of like not paying for it and stuff like that they want to
sure,
grind everything out. But yeah,
sure. I mean, and I'm okay with it. I mean, for the most part, I'm that type of player. But at the same time, if you've been playing a game for, like you say, if you're getting a baseline of entertainment from a game, the where you're like putting in 20 or 30 hours into a game for free, you know what? Like, maybe throw the developers a dollar because you're getting ridiculous amounts of entertainment out of it.
Hmm.
But yeah, so my mastery is like 543, and I have like almost 60 geode mastery.
Cool. Awesome. Way higher than me. So as you said yourself, like throw a few dollars at the developers or something like that. People also have to keep in mind that there's actually right now you can see on the screen there's a real person behind this game. It's not robots sitting programming as some kind of game. It is real people behind it that also want get a paycheck and have to pay for food, pay for see you now doing the pay for rent, pay for food, utilities, all that stuff. So it's fine to have a free to play game, but you also have to kind of help these people out you're actually getting entertainment from, also as you said yourself.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I'm not really a real person. I'm just a flesh puppet being controlled by that guy. But like, money is good. Flesh puppets need to eat too.
Yeah, exactly. So as a if you're not gonna be like a developer right now, but what do you like most about Trove? Like not being a part of the company kind of thing.
Like, as a player, you
As a
mean?
player, yeah.
As a player, I think what I like most about Trove is the procedurally generated worlds. I like the funny, tongue-in-cheek, don't take ourselves too seriously story and the world itself. Like the fact that you can be running around and like fighting dinosaurs one moment, and then in the Jurassic jungle, and the next you're running around in permafrost and fighting turkey refrigerators. Like, our NPCs are pretty fun. We try to do always like make them a little tongue-in-cheek. All of our styles have either like an interesting story or like some stupid pun or alteration or something like that. What else is fun? I like our classes a lot. I think we have a really nice variety of classes that fulfill a bunch of different archetypes while also having succeeded at making them our own. Like the Candy Barbarian. It's like, yeah, he's a barbarian melee fighter, does whirlwinds, does like the leap attack and all stuff, but
Mm.
he's a candy barbarian. So like his ultimate is literally calling down a giant ice cream cone from the sky,
Mm.
right? Also, like the costumes, like I think I really enjoy the fact that we can have costumes that are, some of them are more in theme with the world of Trove, and some of them are more like way out there. Like the Block Tour, for example, was really fun. And also, I really like the fact that we've been able to capture the imagination of a whole bunch of really creative people who then go and make styles and make fan art and make costumes and make mods and dragons and all this stuff, and then all of these things get added back into the game and woven into like the world, right? Someone is like, oh, I made this like this Gundam armor, right? Like the Revenant Mark V armor, and we're like, oh, this is really cool. We really like it, and we add it to the game. But then we give it a reason. We try to give it a reason to exist in the game. Like, why would this crazy robot armor for Revenants exist in the game, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a great playground for a lot of creative people. Like I can mention Sky. Both the Sky sisters have made so many amazing things for the game, and there's countless people that's made amazing fun things. And I think Trove is just a great playground for creating things because there is basically no limits to it. But I feel like still there is certain like boundaries still. I don't think it goes like everything is allowed, but it kind of pushes the boundaries sometimes, and I think it's amazing how the creativity is flowing in these things that people are submitting to you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's like as a company, we have to be careful about accepting certain things or requiring that people change things a little bit so they're not like we're not stealing other people's IPs. But other than that, in general, we're pretty happy accepting all kinds of things.
Yeah, you guys are, by the way, welcome to ask questions. Yes, I don't know if we can answer them or not because we're not allowed to spoil anything at the moment. So you guys are, you guys are welcome to ask, but I'm not sure if we can answer or not. So, right, we talked about Trove. So, yes, the last thing we're gonna like talk about until we get into some Trove stuff is that what is your own goals at the moment for the game? Like as a player, where you, yeah,
So so last year I embarked on the adventure of leveling all my classes to 30, and I succeeded like right on the stroke of midnight of like the 31st of December. So I was pretty happy about that. Or someone it was pretty close, but I made it right before the end of the year. So now I'm working on getting all my characters to power rank 20,000. My I have like my Shadow Hunters at 22 and a half. My Draculate is like at 20 or 19. My Gunslinger is at like 19 or something, and then everyone else is at 17 or so, except for my Vanguardian, who's at 13k. So I'm slowly working my way towards like getting everyone up.
cool, cool. Jesus asks if how about the skipping hacks and the cheat engine and other programs that are an edge for players or speedrunners. I can basically just say that well, you're gonna be able to answer it in a few seconds, but I think cheats is absolutely unnecessary, and I don't think that anybody should have an advantage in any way. But how do you feel about speedrunners using like some kind of, I've never heard about this skip hacks or cheat engine.
So I'm familiar with all of those,
Oh,
and honestly, like the fact that if you're running hacks and speed hacks and skips and all this stuff
yeah.
to place at the top of the speed running leaderboards, you're really like honestly, it's a little sad because you're like, oh, like the only way I can compete with the other people is by cheating. It's like, okay, like go you. As to like the speed hacks and the stuff themselves, like we're constantly improving stuff, like making things better, and working towards shutting that stuff down because it's unfair to everyone who's competing legitimately on the leaderboards.
Yeah, but you could say that some of them maybe are forced into, using these hacks, so they actually, because they want to be number one, right? And they want to do it legit, but they can't because of the people using these.
Right, but that's the thing. Like, so you always have a choice. It's always your choice to do it honorably, legitly, or to cheat. The moment you choose to cheat, it doesn't matter like what your goal is or whatever. You have delegitimized anything that you were doing because you are cheating, right? It's like the old saying of no good can come from evil. It's and this is like a narrative trope. It's like, oh, here's a guy and his motives were honorable. He wanted to do something good, but the actions he took were evil, and therefore no good can come of them. It's like the same thing. It's like, oh, you want to be number one and you want to compete, do so legitimately, or don't. Because if you're competing and you're cheating, nothing you do, no achievement you do, and your reputation is shot forever. It's like, you did a thing, yeah, were you cheating? It's like, no, I didn't cheat this time. It's like, oh, like, well, you cheated before, so how can we know that you didn't cheat this
Yeah.
time? Right. So at the end of the day, it's sure you made it. If so, here's the thing: if what you want is to win no matter what, then yes, like cheating is completely like a valid strategy. If you want to win legitimately for respect or for whatever, that's cheating is not the way to achieve that.
Yeah. I would never condole on saying cheating is something that you should do or be forced into. Then I think you should just like, I know that you want to be like the speed runner, you want that purple name, whatever, but what are you sacrificing? You're sacrificing probably your yourself in a way. I'm not saying your soul, but it's your morale. You're kind of just cheating your way just to get some kind of color in a game, just because you want to cheat. And I don't think that's the way to go at all in the video.
Yeah. So the other thing about cheating is, sure, like some people it's only a game, but it's like, hey, if you're willing to cheat in a game, where else are you willing to cheat? I mean, like winning in a game is meaningless. Whereas but like there's plenty of opportunities to cheat in the real world, and are you willing to cheat? And if so, it's the whole slippery slope of like, oh, I just did it once. It's like, oh well, like it'll be okay if I do it again. It's just anyway, rant.
Yeah, exactly. So bottom line, cheating is bad. Don't do it. Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
let's jump into some Trove stuff. Well, we have been talking Trove, but I did say the 3 major update. I mean, of course, the 2. So we had Bomb Morale and Due update. We're going to talk about those later. But I do want to talk about the improvement update that we're getting now here. Early August is what they said. They also said sometime August. So sometime August is probably like the best way. So could you explain some more about the improvement update?
So basically, the idea behind the improvement update was look at the game from a player perspective, find all of the places where things could be improved just to make things a little better, a little smoother, make the experience a little less clunky, and just like go ham on them, right? It's like, I mean, we improved AI, sorry, not AI, UI, like the scrolling merchant windows. It was just a matter of like find all of the things anything you can find that would be a good target for improvement, that isn't going to like require like 88 million hours and just be like fix. It's basically like when you take in your car to the garage and they're like, hey, like like your air pressure is low, your windshield wipers are a little worn, and all this stuff is like, just fix it all, fix as much as you can.
And we're not going to go over the patch notes. The patch notes are available right now for the PTS, and I will link it in the description for anybody that wants to read them. And I got to say, there is some amazing ones in there, especially I kind of really, and I didn't see this one coming, but the one you do in options where you go to miscellaneous and you go down and you can click what rarity you want to pick up. So I don't know what the loot alt button is on consoles, but it is E as a standard on PC. So when you normally hold down E, it loots like everything that's around you in a radius, and that's just can be any rarity, but you can set it as a specific rarity. So like for example, Shadow, I'm gonna have it on Shadow. So that means that I'm gonna pick up Shadow, Radiant, and Stellars, and just leave everything else. I can just go to the dungeon, defeat it, hold in E. If there's anything I want to pick up that is higher than, or that rarity or higher, I actually just pick it up. And I think that's absolutely an amazing feature that I didn't see coming at all.
Yeah, so that's definitely a thing, because this is something like I've encountered myself. It's like I'm running around just looting everything. It's like, oh hey, your inventory's full. It's like I go look, and there's there's some shadows or some reds or like whatever resplendence on the ground. I'm like, oh, like I have to manually go and like drop all of the orange gear, all of like the relic or whatever, and to pick up the other stuff. It's like, oh, it would be really nice if we didn't have to, if we could just be like, I'm not interested in this tier of gear just because it spawns often enough to be a pain in my butt, but not often. But the yield from it in terms of deconstructing it into flux is not worth my time. So hey, that's where you get the loot filter from.
I think
it's. Sorry, go ahead.
I think that I was just trying to say that I feel like that's amazing, amazing add-on that I didn't realize was something that people were actually looking for, and I didn't even know I was myself was looking for it. So yeah. that's just
Yeah,
one of the many features coming. We're also getting the names. You can choose whatever name color you want if you have access to it. If you are 2000, for example, Trove master, you can access your gold name, and you can also actually access white names. So you can just go back, and if you don't want to have any color on your name. So I think that's amazing that people giving the option for it. And I think it's amazing to give us a little bit of some stuff before, because I know you guys are working really, really hard on U10 and basically don't really have time to make anything else. So I think it's amazing that you have the time to make kind of give us a little bit of something before we're going to go into U10 later this year.
Yeah. So basically, like releasing Geode was. Geode was probably one of the biggest patches we've ever released, and it made sense for us to be like, okay, like Geode is out, people are playing it, it's good, it's fun. Let's take a step back, and before like building on top of that, let's go back and fix a whole bunch of small things that people have been complaining of for a long time, right? The being able to select which name which color your name is something that has been in there since Shadow Tower like speedruns were a thing, because people were like, oh, I have my purple name, and then someone would be like, oh, hey, like here's a hard phone, now you have a red name.
Yeah.
So anything like that was a low hanging fruit that we could fix, we addressed.
Yeah, and I think that's great. Just getting. Just collect everything and just put it in one patch for people. I think that's really, really great. Going a little bit back, as you said, as you did in Adventures, you actually put in one of the things in the update was that we got a sub biome for the Neon City biome. And I really, really feel like those are amazing. We've talked about this on the podcast before. These sub-biomes, what it could be. You guys have said it yourself, it's probably maybe going to be snow or desert, which is sounding great, because I feel like the snow or the permafrost biome definitely needs some kind of a little bit of a boost.
So let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
So going back and adding Luminopolis to the Neon City made sense for the update that we wanted to build for heroes, right? We wanted to be something about we wanted to make something about be a hero, like tell a short story of like, hey, here's a new rising evil and a new hero rising to fight it. So that's where the Imperium came up, the Resistors came up, the Vanguardian shows up as the new class and all this stuff, right? So it made sense at the time to do that, and Neon City was the perfect setting for that. We've talked about the desire to update other biomes in the future. We've not specifically said which ones it will be or when it will be. Right?
Oh, no, of course not. But,
so,
sorry.
Mainly, I just want to clarify that, hey, like, updating old biomes is definitely on our radar, but it's not something that we've said we are doing this. We've said it would be nice to, and if we did, these two would be likely candidates.
Yeah, they've said maybe snow or desert. That's what they've said. So maybe it's not going to end up being that. That's something like way down the road, probably something next year. But the point of being is that I feel like Neon City biome now, with just a little, I don't know how little tweak it was, but just putting in the sub biome absolutely did amazing things for it. It feels new, it feels fresh. The rain, for example, the robotic rain or whatever you're going to call it is just amazing, gives it amazing feeling, and I think it's something that other biomes also could definitely use of. I think it's a really great job you did on just implementing this sub biome, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we're gonna have, because like I said, there's a few biomes out there that could get a little bit of a boost in feeling fresh and new, because they've been around for forever.
Yeah, so I mean, what I always say about these things as well is you have to bear in mind that Medieval Highlands, Permafrost, Cursed Vale, Desert Frontier, and original Neon City, and even Fey, like the Fey biome and Condoria, all of these old biomes
Yeah.
were made by a very different and much smaller team than what we have now, right? So back in the day, we didn't have a Junebug, we didn't have a Twixler, we didn't have a number of the engineers who worked on the renewal of Neon City. So we did what we could at the time, and at the time it made sense. But Luminopolis and definitely Geode are definitely examples of what the current, well, what the team that worked on those biomes could do, right?
Yeah. And I think it's just amazing job you did on it, and again, I can't wait to see what biome you pick up and give us that fresh new feeling of these. So another idea I had is that kind of a reputation system, because you kind of build it up around the resistors being kind of I kind of see them as a faction, as they is like, or as they have in World of Warcraft, they have these factions. You run around, do quests for them, and that gives you basic reputation with these guys, and then it unlocks at different places. You're honored, exalted, and stuff like that, and then you can buy, like, for example, a mount when you get to exalted, or you get a special title or something like that. So how do you feel about that idea, not only from like a developer point, but also like a player, maybe?
So as a player, I really like the reputation systems, because like thematically, it's like, hey, like these are the good guys, and you're also a good guy, so it gives you a connection. It's like, oh, I should help these guys, and they can give me within the context of their missions. You can get as a designer, you can create a lot of world building just by being like, hey, like. The apothecary guy needs you to gather some herbs, and depending on the faction, if the faction is an assassin's guild, it's like, oh yeah, we need the herbs to make some poisons because we're gonna murder that guy. If it's a healer druids or whatever, it's like, hey, we need some herbs because there's like some rare seeds that we need to collect to prevent this plant from going extinct. If it's like a researcher, it's like, like we need the herbs to like concoct new potions and stuff. So in the nature of the missions that you're given and the rewards that you're given, you can do a whole bunch of world building just with a pretty straightforward system, right?
Yeah.
So personally, I like that as a developer. I like them as a player because it's like it gives me another bar to fill. It's like, oh, like, here's the thing. I go do the thing with them. They the bar fills up. I buy things from them. The bar goes down, and it's constantly like a fluctuation of stuff. And so it gives you. So in general, I like them a lot. I don't know how well it would translate to Trove. I mean, we could make it work. I mean, making a reputation system work is not that hard.
Yeah, I get it. It's kind of like a serious. Maybe it's more on the serious side of a thing where you kind of get favor with somebody. It doesn't feel very Trove-ish now, but it was just kind of an idea of because
it can work in certain contexts. Like, it would have worked with the resistors, for example.
Yeah.
So, and like in the Geode hub, where you have like the Geodians and you have Sunseeker Rowan and Thlan, all of these people, like each of them could like theoretically be like the leaders of their own little faction within Geodian society, and you going and doing adventures for them, like filling your reputation bar, and then that eventually leading to, hey, like, you got Thlan's teleporter mount, or you got Rowan's like magic blade or whatever. That all makes sense, right? So reputation systems are good. They work. They've been proven to work. There's a whole bunch of different iterations on them. So
yeah. So yeah, there was also a little bit about sub biomes and stuff like that. Let's jump into some Geode stuff, but first, Geode update basically. Bomb Royale. To be honest, I'm not very big PvP guy, but I'm actually enjoying Bomb Royale way more than I did the other, because some stuff was just so frustrating because some classes just had such a great advantage in the old PvP system, and I really enjoy Bomb Royale for sure. It's very fun. But why Bomb Royale? Why did you choose that as a new PvP?
So the idea behind Bomb Royale was we wanted to make a new mode of PvP that took advantage of Trove's strengths and addressed all of the complaints that players have with old Trove PvP. So old Trove PvP, like a lot of the complaints were the classes weren't balanced, projectile attacks would not register, and there were certain broken strategies where you could be like, oh, I'm gonna run around and like freeze everyone with my ice stage, and then my friend with the pirate captain is just gonna throw out down his Man of War, and everyone's gonna die, right? So going from that basis of we want to address all of these things, and we want to do something that takes advantage of Trove's ability to generate terrain on the fly or destroy terrain on the fly and all of these things. That's where we landed up with Bomb Royale. It's okay, like everyone has the same set of abilities, so there's no balancing required. None of the abilities are actual projectiles, so hit registration is not a problem. None of the abilities are melee attacks, so apart from like blast jump, which is kind of sort of maybe a melee attack, but it's not. So you don't have to worry about hit registration. You don't have to worry about lag and rubber banding, and so it just made sense to build Bomber Royale, taking into account all of these like don't do's and do's, like do's and don'ts, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a great mode. Like it really has a lot of fun with it, especially. And my second question would probably be like, have you thought about other modes that, now we're doing something with bombs? Is there other plans for other modes of PvP, or is PvP just going to be Bomb Royale now for a good amount of time, or?
So I would imagine Bomb Royale is pretty popular. Like a lot of people who don't usually partake in PvP are actually like playing Bomb Royale and enjoying it, myself included.
Yeah, me too.
And we have a plan for keeping it updated, keeping it fresh, making it maintaining it fresh for a while, right? So as long as Bomb Royale is popular, there probably isn't a need for us to make a whole new PvP mode. That said, there's been ideas that were bounced around and stuff that we may revisit at some point in the future when it makes sense. But for the time being, Bomb Royale is Trove's new PvP, is Trove's main mode of PvP.
Yeah. And also, if somebody didn't know, somebody in chat or on YouTube, you guys are working on making the Bomb Royale experience work towards the old PvP system. So, because there is coming a level 50 PvP trophy, and I think that's how you're gonna get experience towards the old PvP system if you haven't gotten level 50 yet. So that's also going to be amazing that we can get the old PvP system actually done with that. So that is amazing. Again, Bomb Royale is just very, very fun. Like you said yourself, I actually like it. Like I said, I'm not a PvP guy. I usually don't do anything with PvP because I'm not good at it, basically. But it's really, really, really fun. And also like the idea that you can basically sell everything, so you can actually don't have to actually pay PvP and to get the rewards.
So the other thing about PvP is about Bomb Royale is you don't really need to be that good to benefit from it. Understanding it and being able to play it is the barrier to entry is really low, but it has a very high skill ceiling. So there's definitely a lot of ridiculous tactics you can use. There's lots of if you're really good and observant and you're like fast reflexes and have like amazing depth spatial perception, all this stuff, yes, you can be really really good at it. But it's not even that hard to be, sorry, if you have all of those traits that I described, you can be like awesome at it. But it doesn't really require you to be amazing to be good. Like you can be like, okay, I understand the way a bouncy bomb works, and I can like more or less calculate the angles of the bounces and stuff, and I can see that the guy is running that way, so I can kind of lead them and make it bounce in a certain way so that it lands where he is going to be, not where he is, right? And there's once you start understanding all of these like little nuances, it's not that hard to place, to earn coins, and to actually win matches.
Yeah, I have with my limited skills, I've actually won 2 matches. So that
Yeah, I
says a
mean,
lot about the that you
yeah, I
can
mean,
actually win.
yeah, like I am not a huge PvP player, and I've won like 10, 12 matches in total. And like I was like, oh, like when I won the first one, I was like, oh my god, I won a match. I feel I'm like a badass. But even like not winning a match, it's like, okay, like as long as you place 10th, you get 1 coin. As long as you place 5th or higher, you get 2 coins. If you get the first kill, you can also get a coin. So it's it's easy to participate, and it's easy to reap some amount of rewards.
Yeah. I'm surprised how fast you can actually get coins. I actually had a question with something about how hard to get coins, but I actually, by playing it now, I've actually realized that it's not that difficult to get coins if you just,
Yeah,
of course, don't just jump off the edge at like the beginning.
yeah. And the other thing is like there's a tome, so literally, like spend your first 5 or 10 coins on the tome, and then play PvP for as long as you can stand it. If you don't enjoy it,
Yeah.
and there's like, okay, like I'm done playing PvP for a day, but I have the tome. I'm gonna go earn my extra 10 coins, my extra 5 coins for the week.
Yeah, I did
So
calculate it though. If you want everything from only the tome, the 5 a week, it actually takes you like 230 weeks or something like that. So
yeah, but here's the thing: while you're filling in your tome and adventuring and stuff, you can get flux, and then everything on the battle royale on the bomber royale vendor is tradable. So you can also just acquire the stuff by paying people who like to PvP.
yeah, exactly, actually.
So yeah, I mean, we definitely made a lot of decisions to make it as appealing as possible, but at the same time make it as friendly for everyone, PvPers and non-PvPers alike. In terms of gameplay, in terms of earning the rewards, uh, in terms of engaging with the mode, right?
Yeah. So how do you guys feel about actually bomb royale being the best method actually to grinding out experience? How do you guys feel about that?
Um, I'm okay with it. I mean, so here's the thing, right? Every method of gaining experience you have in the game has pros and has cons. If all you're doing is leveling by doing Bomber Royale, that's awesome. But you're not making flux unless you go and buy, unless you're winning and earning coins and then selling your mounts or whatever for flux, and you're also not getting gear, right? So again, there's different ways of getting gear that are not going out into the world and murdering things. You can buy gear from other players or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I'm okay with it because it's like, okay, like, do you like PvP? You can, like, PvP will earn you experience to level your characters. If you don't like PvP, go adventure. There's a lot of good ways that the two, like the PvP and adventuring, like overlap and like leave negative space between each other, where no matter what you like to do, there is a gameplay for you that will give you rewards that are useful for you, and that you can then use to progress outside of PvP, right?
Okay. So I think we have covered bomb royale, but we also had like the even bigger thing, which of course is Dude itself. So why did you guys pick? What was the reason of picking Geode as the next place we were going?
So I think this is a good point for us to take a short break, if you don't mind, like
Oh,
5 minutes.
yeah, sure. We can take a 5 minute break. Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Sure. Sure. Right, guys, we're taking a 5 minute break, so you guys can go out and get something to drink. I'm got my drink right here, so amazing.
Hi, I'm back. Thanks for your
Welcome back.
patience.
Oh yeah, sure, sure. Got to interact a little bit with chat. So apparently Twixler is out hiking. She's been very active. All right. So cool. Let's continue. So we're not here the rest of the day. Okay. So Geode stuff. I asked why Geode? Like why specifically Geode and the reason behind it? Yeah, picking that.
So Geode gave us a chance to do several things. On the one hand, so we've been hinting about so going back to the nascent lore of Trove, we introduced the characters of the Holy Trinity of Trove, who are the Sun Goddess, the Moon Goddess, and the Shaper. The Sun Goddess, and we know what happened with the Sun Goddess. She sundered the world to prevent the shadows from taking over. So who knows where she is? The Moon Goddess is supposedly, as far as we know, being held captive by Cthulhu, and we had hinted at the Shaper being the one who actually like formed the world, and how like he had an underground realm, and he was the god of body and so forth, right? So and we'd hinted about the Shaper's underground realm, where you would be like mining and exploring and doing all kinds of things in the past. So this Geode allowed us to bring the Shaper to the forefront of Trovian lore, right? Give you more information about him, his domain, his followers, and so forth. So that's where the whole idea of Geode came from. Geode is a planet that was created by the Shaper after he created Trove. And there he would just, he would tinker away, just do his own thing, like creating amazing creatures and rock formations. He was just doing his own thing, right? And then we've also, we've hinted at with the existence of Geode for a very, very long time. Some players have, seen some of the hints in, back in the day when we introduced the Atlas on, during the Heroes update, during the Adventures update, and so forth.
Yeah.
And so that it gave us that it gave us the ability of taking the the story of Trove in a new direction. It also gave us the ability to focus more on a new and different type of gameplay in Discovery with the caverns and all this stuff. Trove has a lot of it has Trove, the planet and the biomes have caves and so forth. They're procedurally generated. You go under Candoria, and there's these tunnels and things where you can find ores of all kinds of different types. But we kind of wanted to take that a step further and just be how do we create a gameplay experience that is focused just on gathering resources, crafting, and with very little in the way of combat. Trove is the planet where you fight things. Geode, the caverns under Geode, is where you go exploring and mining. We're taking advantage of things like mobility, for example. In Trove is a really big thing, the ability to jump, to fly, to double jump. All of these things. We wanted to create a new and exciting gameplay experience that focused on discovery, exploration, mobility, without the need for combat, right? And that's where Geode came in.
I kind of saw the update as a different direction in normally what we do, because mostly what we do is just fighting, gathering, fighting, or basically gathering to fight more. And I feel like this was just, bringing in a very centered thing that is about Trove, also is about gathering and mining and such, like that aspect of the whole, call it lasermancy, all that thing. I felt like that was a really good niche to put in the game as a probably can call it a game mode, but yeah. So I think that's amazing that it's like taking a core thing and just making it something real or like bigger than just fighting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And and at the end of the day, Trove is about adventuring and defeating monsters and so forth. So there will be tie-ins to that in the future on Geode. But for the time being, like we also wanted to tell the story of like the Geodians, the pebbles and the boulders and the Sunseekers who were present on Geode, and how they the shadows focused their main assault on Trove. So Geode was very secluded from the attacks of the shadows, and therefore the people on Geode didn't have the need to develop weapons, to fight, to have warriors and wizards who would fight and so forth. So that allows us. That's where like the gameplay in the Discovery Caves was centered. It's like, so you are going to this new world, but the people there are pacifists, and while they need your help to go kick the shadows' butts, they also want to preserve their environment, and like they have their like the caves which are sacred to them for like reasons that we will talk about in the future. So therefore that's why you can't just go in there and like throw bombs and destroy everything and just rampage like you have been on Trove, right? Trove was already a shattered planet. Geode is still salvageable, so we wanted to encourage you to think of it that way. It's okay, like at least the caves of Geode are a sanctum where you need to be careful, you need to preserve the wildlife there and so forth.
Also doing other kinds of gameplay instead of, like you said yourself, just bombing your way through stuff and just going as fast as possible, right? But actually taking in kind of the cave scenery, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
And as Twixler actually says in the chat, he also talks about the reset of gameplay in the sense of, newer players can feel like they are actually also kind of similar or in the same playing field as high level pro players.
Exactly. That's where you have the entirely new Geode mastery track, where it's like, okay, like I'm a new player, I can jump into the game and I can feel like I'm making progress and I'm not as far behind as the people who have 3 classes with 25,000 power rank and 600 mastery, right? Yeah. And then from Geo they can be like, oh, I made some progress and I got things and stuff, and then they can go back to Trove and be like, oh, like this is a completely different experience. I can go fight things and stuff and make progress. So yeah, it's also about that as well, right?
100%. And that's some games, for example, a game like Path of Exile does this every 3 months, where they put in a new league and they tell people this is a good time to get into the game, because then everybody's playing field is the same thing. So it exactly makes it feel better for new players, 100%.
Yeah, like I mean, like I recently got into Path of Exile, and it was literally I got in, and it was like, oh, like there's a new league starting out in like literally 3 weeks. Okay, well I'm gonna go in, putz around, see, like understand the systems, and get myself ready. And then when the new league started, I was like, okay, I'm starting from scratch. I'm like in the running. I can go level my things and be on the same level as all of my other friends who played. Who've played Path of Exile for years and years and years. Yeah. So we have the ability of playing together. We have the ability of like them, progressing at a similar pace as I. So I feel more involved with my little gaming community there.
100%. And I've been playing Path of Exile for also a very, very long time. Also play it here in stream sometimes still. Trove is my main game, but I still hit up the Path of Exile because it is a really great a game and a great company that does a lot of good things.
So Path of Exile is an excellent game.
Yeah, also free to play. Yeah.
Check them out.
So a personal thing that I don't know if somebody else is, but I kind of feel it is a little bit redundant doing what you're going through the caves, like tier 1, for example. Some people now with somebody has, like, for example, tier or module level 10 shield, for example. You run through the caves so fast. So is it a little bit redundant to go through the first tiers? I'm talking maybe there could be, if you reach a certain point, you could access, another tier as a waypoint or something like that from the starting area, or like when you join a portal, there's a guy there, and you could maybe do like, could I go to start out at tier 2 or tier 3 or whatever, how long you have like waypoints basically.
So the way we designed the module system was meant to address that. So as you're upgrading your gas, you have more gas, which means you can go further. As you're upgrading the grappling hook, the grappling hook and the rocket boots, especially like that combination of two, you can go through the caves really, really fast once you've upgraded those. So there's no real need for us to like add waypoints in there, just because we want to encourage you to learn how to use the grappling hook effectively to swing around the caves like Tarzan. I've actually used the word Trovezan before on my live streams while doing this. But combining the grappling hook with the rocket boost, you can literally like shoot the grappling hook to the ceiling, start moving forward, like canceling out and dodge rolling, and then rocket booting, and you can be like literally like swinging across the caverns like at ridiculous speeds. So there's already ways in the game for you to bypass all of the early content once you've reached the point where you can do tier 3, tier 4 reliably. So adding waypoints in there isn't necessary in my opinion.
No. So just keep this feeling of going through like a cave and not just like teleporting through a cave basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean that's also part of the exploration. Is that as you're going through the caves, you'll find like companions or you'll find dead ends. So as you're going through like the lower tier caves, if you find one of the really short dead ends, it's like, oh, like it's a 2-room dead end. I should definitely go in there and grab myself a companion egg, right? Whereas by adding waypoints to the game, you're basically telling players, oh, once you've reached like tier 2 or 3 or whatever, tier 1 is no longer relevant to you, but tier 1 is still relevant to you because you're always going to need the lower level tiers just for other things.
Exactly, and that also kind of holds down the price of materials because people that go fast will maybe pick up a few of the tier 1 materials and actually sell them as well on the marketplace, which keeps like the price down, so it's going to be available for more people.
Yep.
So crystals and metamatter is basically not tradable. They've actually recently on yesterday's live stream, they actually talked about a catch-up mechanic compared to crystals. Actually, I don't know if you can talk more about that.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah. So they said on the on the live stream yesterday that there was. So there was going to be some kind of catch-up mechanic in the sense of crystals, because crystals cannot be traded, of course. So that's like individual thing. But talking about a catch-up mechanic later on, I know in the improvement update that they're coming that the 50% potions are going to work on the lesser and the greater crystal caches. But is there other method you guys have thought about of like catching up as maybe U10 comes out and people, don't care about it but needs to catch up for new players, basically?
So we're always looking at player feedback, especially in terms of the economy and stuff. So chances are there will be. I don't think we're ready to talk about this stuff yet because we're not talking about U10 or any of the stuff involved there. But it's definitely, so if it's a concern, we'll definitely look into that. I feel the potions working on crystal caches and pinatas and stuff will help alleviate that somewhat.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, hey, we have a new gameplay mode, which is discovery. Chances are, if crystals are a problem, we'll figure out a way to make it so that you can get more crystals somehow.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't think I think it's a good step in the right direction about like having it work on what's it called, on lesser crystal caches and greater ones as well. Also the pinatas, I forgot, of course, that you mentioned it yourself, that it works on that, and you can kind of gather a whole bunch of them, and then you can put on the potion and just like catch up like that. Yeah. But how do you feel about like a crystal tome, like later on a crystal tome? Maybe not a grindable one, but a legendary one or a weekly one, whatever you're gonna call it.
I mean, it's not out of the question. Tomes are definitely something that we use a lot in terms of, okay, we are expecting players to have to earn at least this amount of whatever resource a week. So it gives us a way to open the faucets up for things that are like, that are hard to obtain, like maybe bound brilliance or PvP tokens, all these. So it's not out of the question.
Cool. Because I love tomes, by the way. That's why I said it. I love the tomes.
Yeah, tomes are great. It's just like, hey, here's a thing, go into an experience, and from doing something that you're already going to be doing, earn a resource, right?
Yeah.
It's
exactly. All right. So Jude, pretty much. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about the subclasses. We got subclasses way back, and I had more expectations of what it was going to be, and I think the community had so as well. And right now it feels like it's just a stat stick, and you're just putting on basically the Lunar Lancer most of the times, because that's what gives you like the best buff. So what do you guys? I don't know if you can talk about it or not, but what do you think about the subclasses?
So Lunar Lancer being the best subclass, I not entirely agree. All of the classes are useful situationally, and like the pirate is like, if you're low on magic find, the pirate captain is great. If you're low, if you're like not, if you don't have access to the super fast mounts or the gliding mounts, the knight is good. Gunslinger is good for literally any class that is ranged. So Lunar Lancer and Lunar Lancer, yes, you get some buff or something, but like it's not the best for character classes that are capped, that are attack speed capped. So like Shadow Hunter with the class gem, or Dragon, or Dracolite, Lunar Lancer isn't necessarily the best class. So we're pretty happy with where things are right now, and if anything, like depending on how what happens to level caps or power rank caps in the future, like we'll probably expand the system somewhat. If we ever add a new classes will probably get some moves. We'll definitely get like a subclass or something. So it's a system. It's there. It allows us to do things. For the time being, we're pretty happy with where it's at.
Also, of course, as we now get the Ice Age also update, rework in the improvement patch or improvement update, the Ice Age subclass is also getting. I don't know. I haven't looked into it too much, so I don't want to say if it's going to be buffed or not. But it's going to be reworked, so might have more relevance. And I think as we get into more reworks of different classes and stuff like that, those subclasses might also move around as people's favorites or more useful for the time being. So yeah, I guess we're just in the last question. I think future stuff in more of a I kind of put the question as if you guys had endless money, but it's more like where you guys see the game in like 2 years. It's like not something but where do you guys see the game in 2 years kind of being?
I mean, Trove is a really healthy game. It has a lot of appeal with a lot of different demographics. Like kids love playing it. It's popular on consoles. So I would imagine we'll probably stay the course and keep adding things that people like at intervals that make sense. So people have been asking for U10 for a while. People have been wondering about new gems. People have been wondering about all kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
So so you've gone to Geode and you're like exploring the this new like the crystal the chiseled caverns beneath the beneath Sanctuary, which is the Geode hub. But the story is that you've gone to Geode to fight back the shadows. So in the near future, you will be going out beyond Sanctuary and fighting back the shadows on the surface of Geode or somewhere. And then that will have its progression of things that will happen and so forth. So you can probably imagine where that's all going, right?
Yeah.
In terms of like far future, I mean, we've already talked about a few things. Like more classes will probably be a thing in the future.
Yeah.
Either new biomes or revamping old biomes to make them like to bring them up to the same level of excitement and fun as Neon City. Like the Shadow Tower got a revamp last year in terms of like the rewards you could get and the NPCs you fought in it, and so chances are we'll either like Shadow Tower is popular enough that we will probably do something along the lines like to keep those players entertained.
Yeah.
And the people who love doing Shadow Tower and grind Shadow Tower because it's like, hey, it's almost like a raid and you're fighting bosses and stuff. So chances are we would do something like that.
Yeah.
And this is all just conjecture, right? Like I'm just saying from my perspective what would make sense to do, right?
Are you guys taking a lot of inspiration from like other games? Like I'm not saying stealing, but like picking up, like you said, for example, raids. Raids is like always been like a super big thing in like, for example, World of Warcraft, where are you taking inspirations from other games and seeing what like works for them or?
So the thing is like the design space in video games is constantly evolving, right? Like the zeitgeist is always changing. Like 3 years ago, what was big? Minecraft. Minecraft was the biggest game in the world.
Yeah.
What's popular now is like PUBG, Fortnite, all of these battle royale games. You always have to be aware of what is happening outside in the world, and being like, hey, that's a good idea. But even if you find a good idea or find something that you think is amazing, it always has to make sense within the realm of or the scope of the game you're working on, right?
Yeah.
So, Trove, for example, our stats and stuff, or like our character classes are relatively straightforward, and they're all focused on DPS, on doing damage, and then they have some functionality like the traditional holy trinity of healer, tank, crowd control, DPS, all of these. Like we have some of those roles, but they're usually melded as a part of the class and never like the main focus of the class, right? So we're never gonna do like actual full World of Warcraft style raids.
No.
Like the closest thing we have is the Shadow Tower, and that's kind of that's about the level of engagement or the level of brain cycles we want to occupy in the player's mind. It's like, okay, here's the boss. He has these attacks. Watch out for these tells because they will kill you. Other than that, it's like don't stand in the fire or whatever. Kill the ads and eventually like whittle the boss down, right?
Yeah.
But we don't want to do we probably don't want to do like, hey, like you go into the thing and there's like the massive dungeon and you're like running around and there's like waves of trash and then there's the sub boss that drops set gear or whatever.
Yeah.
It's Trove is not that game.
No.
Right. So, but we would want to do things that make sense within the context of Trove, right?
Yeah, that sounds really reasonable, and I think there is always good things to pick up from different things, and I think you guys are heading the right direction with the game, like we talked about in the beginning. Seems like more systematic. You guys are trying to build up some stuff and kind of involving people more than just throwing out different systems or see this is a thing, this is a thing, but more streamlining everything for having this. All right. We gotta have some kind of cool ending, I guess, to because we got through all the questions and we have been going for quite a while. I think we are mostly through it. If there's something you want to add, you can do it if you want to, if you have anything.
Let me see. I do want to add one thing,
Yeah.
and that is that. Well, it's, I'll talk to you in a minute. I just want to say thanks for having me over here. It's always fun to talk with the players and talk with our Trion creator guys and girls, of course. So yeah, thanks for having me. I always enjoy interacting with the community and talking about Trove.
Yeah, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I've wanted for such a long time to have tried to get a developer on this, because this is of course the 8th episode we have right now. You are the 8th person to come on, and it is a Trove community podcast, which basically it's mostly me and another streamer that talks about what is going on in Trove, and it's just a pleasure that you would take the time to come on here, because we are a big streaming community. We got everybody, or at least most of the people on the community is working towards promoting or doing more things for this game, because we absolutely both love the your guys, the company, because you feel you guys are doing a great job on the game, and also the community around it, people playing it, and just the whole streaming community as well. So I will personally thank you so much for coming on, and I hope that you're not the last of the developers. And now you can say, basically, you can tell the other that I am not dangerous, and it's not it's not something too hard to be on. So I hope that you're not going to be the last, because that would be amazing for a future episode.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can bribe people to come on your show somehow or other.
All right, so bribes is what we're looking at. Okay. Well, then I just gotta figure out what I can what I can bribe people for coming on. But yeah, I thank you again so much, man. I do really super appreciate it, and maybe I will see you at TwitchCon. That'd be kind of cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely planning on going to TwitchCon, and this was a lot of fun. Like, if you want to ever do another co-stream of just playing or doing whatever, hit me up. It'll be fun.
Sure, I will definitely do it. So that was it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, everything is gonna be in the description, all the things we talked about, and sorry, my voice is kind of leaving me. But again, I want to thank every single one of you, also in the chat, for being here, supporting the podcast. And again, thank you, Komor, again so much for coming on. And I will just see you, everybody, next time. Bye.
Yeah, thanks for having me.